and welcome to our conversation about the Bentley student experience for early career professionals. I am Emma. I am Director of Strategic Programs here at Bentley, and I am thrilled to be joined by three amazing panelists who can help us really understand what it's like to be here at Bentley when you're early in your career and you're launching a career. To give you a little roadmap of how we're going to spend our time today, we will likely have a conversation about that student experience for something like 20 to 25 minutes. We'll then have a conversation about how you can apply here at Bentley if that conversation from the beginning is compelling such that you are ready to submit your application. And then we'll take lots of questions, spend lots of time doing Q&A. And so I do want to direct you to the bottom of your screen where there's the Q&A feature. And I hope folks on the line will use that to share their curiosities, whether that's about the student experience or the application experience or anything else that's on your mind, because we would love to make sure that you leave here having all of your questions answered. And so with that, I would love for the folks on the screen to get a chance to introduce themselves to you. Jillian, I'd love to start with you.
Hi, yeah, I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be speaking with you guys today. My name is Jillian. I'm a first year grad student. I just started in September. I'm doing my MSA here at Bentley, and yeah, it's been going really well, and I'm excited to talk all about it.
Thanks, Jillian. And Akindele, can you please also introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. A pleasure to be here. My name is Akindele Oladiji. I am also getting my MSA from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So a bit new to the Boston, Waltham area, but it's been a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be here at Bentley. So yeah, thank you so much for having us, Emma.
Awesome. And Gordon, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gordon Berridge. I'm the Senior Associate Director for Graduate Admissions. I'll be here to answer questions, so I'll pop in at the end here after this great conversation to answer any potential questions that you may have. So I'll see everybody in a little bit.
Awesome. Well, I see we also have a cat joining us today, so we won't do an introduction there, but everyone can say hi too. And that just makes it better. So let's start. Jillian, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to talk to Akindele about this because I think both of you had slightly different reasons to pursue your master's degree early in your career. So I'd love to hear a little bit about why did you choose to come here to Bentley, and why did you choose to come here when you did?
Yeah, so a big part of coming to Bentley was for undergrad, I had stayed pretty local to my area, and I really wanted to branch out for my undergrad. And I think I knew from the start that if I was going to go to graduate school, that it was something that I wanted to do right after undergrad. Just, for my career goals and what I had personally decided. And one of the biggest things for Bentley was just the opportunities that I was going to have here, with the GCD and the career services and how, how much they have going on and the support that I heard about and everything. That was really exciting to me. And the people on campus, it's such a diverse background, like so many people, so many different backgrounds, like you get to make so many new connections and, networking and all that. As well as the hybrid aspect of it. It was really important to me since I live a little bit further from campus that I had that option to be a part of the classroom, but also if I needed to be online, that I could be online. So yeah, those are kind of the main factors in my decision.
Thanks, Jillian. Akindele, I'm curious why you decided to do your master's degree when you did.
Yeah, so sort of similar to Jillian as well. I was also quite local to the Philadelphia area when I was getting my undergrad. But also I wanted to pivot away from what I did in undergrad. So in undergrad, well, not pivot away, but supplement it, I guess would be the right way to put it. In undergrad, I studied international business, which is, I think, a great major, but it's one that, at least the way that my school did it, sort of lacked a bit of the quantitative aspects of business. So I wanted to come to a place where I'd be able to gain that knowledge and take a program where I'll be able to embrace that and be able to utilize that in whatever step I take next. So for me, it was between accounting or finance, and I was looking at different programs. Well, Bentley's accounting program really stood out to me in terms of what they supply and the way that the GCD helps people who are in the accounting program sort of find opportunities once they're trying to leave Bentley as well. So for me, that was sort of my thought process in terms of why I came here now. And so far, I've loved every second of it. So yeah.
I love it. Well, let's talk about why both of you are having a good experience. So, let's start in the classroom, and then we'll talk about kind of things outside of the classroom. And so, for folks on the line, just a reminder that both Akindele and Jillian have only been here for about 2 months. They started coursework in September, but I'm curious if either of you would be willing to share a story about something that's happened in the classroom thus far that's been particularly memorable or meaningful to you. And that can be a actual academic experience or perhaps an interaction you've had with a faculty member or another student. Anything stand out in your first 2 months here at Bentley?
Yeah, so I can speak first. Yeah, so like you said, I've only been here a short amount of time, but getting to know my professors has been such a good experience, and learning that they give us in the classrooms is it's really nice the way that they structure everything. But one specifically in my accounting course, my professor, she actually is from the same town that I am, in Rutland, Massachusetts, and so there was a time, it was right before midterms actually. So honestly, just a few weeks ago, I was struggling with a little bit of the material just to understand it. And unfortunately, because of my work schedule, I wasn't able to attend her normal office hours. And so I reached out to her. I said, "Hey, is there a time that we could meet up possibly outside of them?" And she immediately was like, "Oh yeah, like why don't we actually meet up for coffee in the center of town and we can go over the problems and stuff." And so that just made me feel so much better about the work and stuff, because she went through everything really in detail. And she was so, they're almost like your fans, like they want you to succeed. And I think that that's the biggest thing, like from all my professors, not just hers, how much they want you to succeed. And it was just so I don't know, it was a really good experience. And like she was really kind, and that was, yeah.
That's wonderful. Akindele, I'm curious if you've had any interactions with faculty, because that was really the center of Jillian's story, that have stood out to you in your first couple of months here.
Yeah, I think all the faculty here are, at least the ones that I've interacted with, are very helpful. And they embrace, asking questions in class, asking questions outside of class. One that I think that I've had a closer connection with in general would be Professor Brunel. His class, I take financial modeling with him. So as an accounting major, it's not, I believe it's one of my electives even, but I really enjoy it. And he makes the class very enjoyable. When you start class, the first thing we do most classes is he'll ask, has anyone heard anything in the news about finance? And I think that that's something that's very important too, because in a lot of courses, especially in undergrad for me, what you would work on is pretty much hyperbole, or it's based off things that happened, 10, 15 years ago. But in his class, he tries to keep it as relevant as possible. So we'll go over financial news, we'll go over what's been happening, and then connect that to what we're doing in class. On top of that, Bentley has a lot of great speakers that come to the school, whether it's finance related or not, and he'll make everyone aware of those events and those opportunities. So whether it's on Brightspace, which is like our portal that we use for our classes, or in class, he'll tell us like, "Oh, this speaker's coming. This will be very interesting." He'll give us a rundown on what it is. And that's really nice because it keeps us all informed. As grad students, I have classmates that are working, I have classmates that are, full-time grad students. So we're all very busy. So having him just take that 5, 10 minutes to tell us, this is what's happening on campus is really helpful. And it's something that I definitely don't take for granted, and I definitely appreciate a lot from him.
Yeah, I think what you're sharing is really interesting and important. One of our faculty members, who actually is the program director for the finance masters, talks a lot about how that relevance, kind of connecting at the beginning of class to the reality of what's happening on the ground in whatever field you are, whether it's, accounting, business analytics, finance, is incredibly important, not only from an academic perspective to root yourself in kind of the real material you're going to be doing, but also he would argue from an employability perspective that often when you then go through job interviews or things, they're going to ask you about exactly those things. Hey, did you read this in the paper and do you understand how this works? And so some of that is also allowing you to practice from an employability perspective what you're looking to do. And so I think that's incredibly interesting. Let's talk about employability a little bit. I'm curious if either of you have had experiences in the classroom thus far that feel particularly applicable to the type of work that you hope to do after your time at Bentley. My recollection is, both of you are Masters of Accounting students. You are specializing in different things. There's different concentrations. And so I'm curious, anything you've learned so far that you feel like is going to really serve you from a career perspective?
Yeah, so I think in the classroom, even just in the short time, being able to collaborate with my peers on projects and just kind of get to know them in that classroom setting has been really helpful. Like just hearing their stories and learning about their experiences and learning like, oh, maybe that's something I want to do, maybe if they're talking about the field of work that they're in or, you know, as well as developing those teamwork skills that I had been developing on undergrad as well. I feel like it's almost on a bit of a different level just because I think as Akindele was saying, like some people are part-time, some people are full-time, some people, have full-time jobs, some only have part-time. Like it's just so interesting kind of it's almost I guess it's kind of like networking in a way, yeah, because you're developing these connections and you never know like who could be someone like, "Hey, I'm gonna go talk to them about, maybe I'm interested in whatever they're working on." And I think that, you know, my goal right now is to experience as much as I can of, the accounting and finance field, I guess. And so part of that experience is making those connections and hearing people's stories. And so I think that that's definitely been something that the classroom has provided me with.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I think one thing, about me, and I don't know if there's anyone who is watching this webinar that's in a similar situation, but for me, coming into accounting, unlike a lot of my other classmates, my dream or my end goal wasn't Big Four. And I think for me, Big Four would be something that I would have no issue going into and using that as a stepping stone in my career. But in terms of like what I would like to do long term, it would revolve around international business. And I getting this accounting degree to sort of supplement that. With that being said, my classes have enabled me to get a taste of the different aspects of accounting. So, uh, like in accounting, you have advisory, you have audit, you have tax. And I've taken an audit class right now. And honestly, I think I've written like five numbers in that class, maybe. It's all about, words. It's all about understanding people, understanding controls, understanding processes. And going through that was very interesting because it's almost like a puzzle, putting things together, trying to make sure that the way that the controls are set up will be preventative so that there won't be any problems in the future, or making sure that the controls that are currently in place are being as effective as possible. And things like that, are things that when people hear that, oh, you're an accountant, they're instantly thinking, sitting behind a desk all day, plugging in numbers, looking at spreadsheets. But for audit, a lot of it is hands-on work, and I thought that was very interesting. So even being in classes like that, they'll teach you things about the accounting profession that maybe you didn't know, especially if you weren't coming from an accounting background like myself. And my classmates have been really helpful in that class too because we're doing a group project and two of my classmates, one of them is currently working full-time as an auditor, and then there's another one who's interned at Grant Thornton as an auditor and she's going back there full-time as well. So they have that experience and everyone's very accepting, and when I ask questions that I'm sure for them they knew like 2, 3 years ago the answer to, they're very helpful in terms of helping walk me through that. So yeah, the classroom is really a great experience in terms of learning the course material, of course, but also learning about the different aspects of accounting, learning about what you like and also what you don't like, and that's perfectly fine. It's not everything in accounting or any profession that you're gonna enjoy. So like for me, I know tax is probably not gonna be something that I pursue any at any point in the future. So, just learning that stuff is really great, and it helps you because, as we were saying before, when it comes to employability, uh, those are the type of things that you're going to need to know in terms of, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And how will that help me in the future?
I think both of you are bringing up really interesting points. And I think what I'm hearing you both talk about is there's some technical knowledge, obviously, that's happening in the classroom, but there's also this other level of kind of durable skills that you're also learning. So whether that's teamwork, working together, whether that's communication, describing things for different audiences. I know Akindele, I'm pretty aware of Len's audit class, and he talks a lot about the real focus is exactly as you described on making it clear what it actually looks like to be an auditor, and what that communication style looks like, what it looks like to create presentation. And what I think is really interesting is from an early career perspective, that's an incredibly important part of your understanding as you think about shaping your career. Bentley's, masters for early career folks are really designed to allow you to do that digging into, okay, who am I within whatever field it is, whether it's business analytics, whether it's finance, whether it's accounting, and what does that mean? Um, for me, and how can I specialize, and how can I make sure all of my skills are leaning in that direction? And I really appreciate both of you pointing out that some of that exploration is in kind of collaboration with your colleagues and your fellow classmates, that it's not just faculty members who are sharing with you, here's what you need to know about X. You're going to be in the classroom with folks that have their own experiences that they can bring to bear that can help you as an early career professional shape your understanding of where you want to fit. So let's use that as a little jumping off point to continue to talk about our student population. And I know, Akindele, my recollection is that you've participated in events with our Graduate Student Association, that you've been involved with our graduate accounting group. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about why those experiences outside the classroom have been important to you as part of your Bentley experience.
Yeah, I think that for me, when coming here, it would have been very easy for me to just, say I'm here to study and stick to the books and, not really do anything outside of that. But the GSA and GAA, which is Graduate Student Association, Graduate Accounting Association, have been really helpful in terms of helping me connect with people. And at the end of the day, the more involved you get within the business world, the more you realize that your network is so important. So they really help in terms of providing opportunities for you to network with your other GSA, your other graduate students, and also, people external, alumni, people who are currently working in the industry. And it's been a really great opportunity to do that. On top of that, coming here from Philly, I didn't know anyone, and it's a really great opportunity to meet new people, to make friends. I've met some great people at both events. In my class, one of my classmates, she actually organizes the events for the Accounting Association. So even in our group chats that are focused, on class, she'll always, send texts saying, "Oh, GAA is doing this weekend, or they're doing that," and I try my best to show up when I can. And it's really great. I've been to a few events. They had a cruise, which was, the first couple weeks. That was really great. And you got to meet people, you got to see people in more relaxed settings, and I think that that's really nice as well because when you're in class, when you're on campus, people tend to be more serious because you're doing work, of course. But when you're sort of out there, I know that they had Top Golf last week. I couldn't go to that one, unfortunately, but that was a really great experience as well. Um, Emma, would you like me to speak about the things I'm involved in that aren't related to accounting as well? Because
Please,
yeah,
absolutely.
I think from my perspective, it's different because most people wouldn't do what I'm doing. Um, but coming straight out of undergrad, when I was in undergrad, I played rugby at my old school, and I played for 3 years. And it was at a slightly higher level than here at Bentley. And I say that only because it enabled me to come here and have a role of yes, I am a player on the team, but I also see myself as a bit of a mentor. So I'm able to, help my teammates and I play with them and it's really nice because my coaches are very accepting. Both of my coaches actually did their master's program at Bentley as well and played. So they were in the same shoes as me, so they understand like for practices I come late every time because my class ends in the middle of when practice has begun. So they know I'm going to be late, but they're very accommodating and it works with my schedule as well. So it's been a really great experience in terms of that. Again, helping people or helping me make friends, make connections. And a lot of the players will even ask me about like my graduate classes because they're thinking about pursuing a graduate degree or they're in the advanced standing program for undergrad. So they'll be taking some of the similar courses that I'm taking too. So it's been a really great experience. And it's something, I would say that anyone that comes here, even if you think that you won't be involved, trust me, they'll find ways to get you involved with stuff outside of the classroom. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think at Kindle, what I love about what you're saying is there's lots of ways for building connection and community here at Bentley. Bentley is a very community-centric space, whether that's in the graduate school or even more broadly. And I think we heard that even in both Jillian and Kindle's stories about their faculty members tend to want very deeply to be part of that community as well and are. And there's lots of ways to expand that network to all of your fellow students and learn about it both from a kind of professionalization perspective, but also just as human beings who want to engage with each other. I'd love to end our conversation talking about employability because I will say, when you both kind of started your introductions, you both pointed to our graduate career development office as an important reason why you came here, because you are looking to kind of launch a career in a direction that you're looking to be working. And I would love for you to share with everyone a little bit about how you've leveraged those resources thus far in your first 2 months here and what you have had opportunity to engage with that you found particularly meaningful. Jillian, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so yeah, the Graduate Career Development Center, GCD, it's truly been the most helpful thing ever. At Kindle, I don't know if he had mentioned Audra yet, but I've met with Audra, Faith. They're two of our career coaches, and they do a lot of other stuff in the department as well. They've been so helpful, and they send out emails almost every day, I think, or they always have some event going on too. And I've been to a couple of those. I attended the Gearing Up conference in June, and then most recently they had a career success summit and a career fair in September, which the career fair actually landed me my internship that I have for the summer. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it's just been so great. I met with Audra a few times, reached out, hey, like I want to talk about my career goals or I want to talk about getting an internship, like whatever it may be, whatever questions you have, they are ready and willing to answer those questions and help you get to where you want to be. And even if you're not sure, they will help you figure out how, to kind of start thinking about things so that it's a little bit less overwhelming because it can be a really daunting process, sorting all this stuff out. And so they've just been so crucial to my experience here at Bentley so far. And, figuring out what it is I want to do and, kind of, putting my career aspirations and what I want into words and being able to express that. And I think that, for me personally, that was something where it's like, oh, I like this, and this, I can do this, and this, but I don't know how to you know, say that or express that or, how do I attract employers or how do I attract the people in a network, that are more geared towards what I want to do instead of, because it's really easy to feel like you're just floating around. And they definitely kind of become almost a solid ground for you at the GCD. And I think that it's it's just yeah, it's incredible what they do, and I highly recommend, like, if you decide to come to Bentley, immediately reach out and someone will get back to you and you will feel so much better.
Awesome. Akindele, anything you'd add to what Jillian's talking about your interactions with the grad career development group?
Yeah, I think Jillian really touched on all the key points there. One thing I'll say is for me, like I mentioned before, Professor Brunel, he actually pointed out in one of our classes that a company, Myris Capital Advisors, was doing on-campus interviews. And I reached out to the GCD to see how I could apply to that. And they gave me all the information I needed. I applied. Currently, I'm now in the final stages of that process as well. So, without Brunel and without the GCD, that opportunity might have went by, but they were all very helpful in terms of that. And I think, um, sort of to piggyback again off Jillian, she mentioned Audra. I've spoken with Audra, I've spoken with David in the GCD, and they're both very helpful. I mean, when I came to Bentley, I think the best way to describe my job search in the past was like a headless chicken. I would just apply to whatever I would see on Handshake, but there wasn't really any direction. And I think Audra and David really helped me in terms of understanding, okay, this is what I like, and this is where it's applicable in terms of where you can look for jobs and doing it. How do we put those two things together? Because for me, I'm the type of person that likes to know a little bit about a lot of different areas. So I think that I could work in, a plethora of different industries, a plethora of different environments. But if you don't sort of narrow it down, at least to begin with, it will become difficult to sort of find something. So, and the GCD has a lot of great events as well. They had the 2-hour job search, which was uh, um, a summit that we had in person where the writer of that book, his name right now escapes me, unfortunately, but he came and he sort of walked us through the 2-hour job search process. And it's a very concise, very well put together process for looking for work and networking with people. And it's, all about the people connection, which was really, really great. So I think, in terms of GCD, they're all very helpful. Everyone there, their one goal is to help you once you go out of Bentley to have a job, have a place to launch your career, as you said, Emma. And so far, I only have good things to say about them.
That's awesome. And I think both of you, something I want to point out for folks on the line, something you might notice is remember, Jillian and Akindele have only been here since September, and yet both of them have taken advantage of things kind of hitting the ground running so that they can land internships or so that they can be in final rounds of job interviews, which is spectacular. And so something that we really focus on with our early career folks, but with everyone is spending the summer before you start. Like Jillian spoke about, she came to a conference before she even started here on campus. Taking advantage of your summer before you start to really kind of start to define what it is that you want to do so that when you're here, you can join the Career Summit, which was this year on, I think, September 12th, 2 weeks into your time of starting, or that you can hit the ground running on doing interviews, which often happen very quickly. I actually know of one of Jillian and Akindele's MSA colleagues who, similar to them, started at the same time. And by October, he had 3 job offers because he had spent the whole summer prepping, understanding, working with our grad career development team on what it is that he needed to do to be well positioned, but also, as Akindele is talking about, so he could define what it was that he wanted to do. And therefore was able to leverage his time here really quickly. And so, from a career development perspective, particularly for early career folks that are joining us, recent graduates and people that are looking to launch their career, we really urge you to take advantage of these resources very quickly. And we certainly make those available to you, as both Jillian and Akindele are talking about, so that you're very well positioned. Okay, so we're going to pause our conversation here so that Gordon can talk to us a little bit about the actual application process. I will urge folks on the line, please use the Q&A feature while Gordon is speaking to let us know what your questions are for both Akindele and Jillian, but also for Gordon on the application side so that we can make sure during the Q&A that we answer all of your questions. Gordon, I am going to get your materials right up on my screen for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. Really appreciate it. So just want to go through the application process really quickly with everybody. One of the first things, go to our website. Lots of information is on our website too, bentley.edu/graduate. where you can see a lot of this information. And also too, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on, is about how to communicate with us here in the graduate admissions office. We love talking with our candidates. We love having an opportunity to speak with students as they're going through the application process or they're getting ready to apply. And so we'll make sure to share some of that information with everybody at the end of today's session. So the application requirements are pretty straightforward. First and foremost, we're going to take a look at a current and updated resume, as well as a LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that you submit both of these. And one little recommendation I'd quickly give is you want to make sure that these are both up to date. So make sure that the information on your resume is the same as your LinkedIn profile, and then vice versa as you're going through. The next thing is we're going to take a look at one required recommendation letter. You can submit one additional recommendation letter if you choose to, but it's only one is required. For those of you in your early career, if you have not worked full-time yet, you can absolutely submit a recommendation letter from a professor. If you've done an internship, maybe you can submit a letter from your internship manager as well. If you're an early career, maybe have 1 or 2 years of experience, you can also submit one from your current manager as well. I always let students know you just want to make sure you submit a recommendation from someone who can speak to your abilities and qualities to do an advanced degree, like an MBA or a master's in accounting or one of our other master's degrees. Next is one required essay. In the application, you're going to see a prompt of several different essays that you get to choose from. You're going to choose which one you want to write about, and then just write about that particular question. Please note that there is a word limit on those with a minimum of 300 words and a maximum of 500 words. You want to stay within that range. There is also an optional personal statement if you'd like to submit that as well. Please do note, once again, that it also has a minimum 300, maximum 500 words as far as the optional personal statement goes. Next, a lot of folks do ask about testing. We are test optional at the graduate school. We do accept the GRE or the GMAT. As you're looking at those two options, please do note, if you do not submit it, it's not going to hurt you. But if it's something that you do want to take, it can help you and it can benefit. For international students, if you did take your entire degree outside of English, you will need to submit an English language test. We do accept multiple different language tests. We accept the IELTS, the TOEFL, the Duolingo, or the Pearson. For those, if you want to submit one, the IELTS, we look for a 7 or better, the TOEFL, a 100 or better, Duolingo is a 130 or better, and then the Pearson is 61 or better. Finally, the transcript. There is transcripts that you will need to submit. If you attended university here in the United States, you can submit unofficial transcripts as part of your application. However, once you do begin classes with us, you will need to submit your official transcripts. Once again, for our international students, you will need to get a transcript evaluation. We do accept evaluations from different NACES members. Probably the most popular is WES, or World Education Services, WES.org. But you will be required to submit a transcript evaluation. Do please note this evaluation is not necessarily to translate it from the country where you received that degree in their language to English, but it's also translating it from the educational system in the country where you received the degree to the educational system here in the United States. And then finally, the interview. If you did apply to our full-time MBA or one of our other programs that requires an interview, there would be an interview also, and the interview would be done over, we do it over Zoom or Teams or something like that. They're typically done over video. However, if you are in the Waltham area or we happen to be in your neighborhood, we'd be more than happy to set up a in-person one as well. You can go to the next slide, Emma. So this is probably our biggest question that we get is financing your education. There are multiple different ways that you can pay for financing your education. However, for those folks who are early in their career, for those that may be working already, a lot of folks do take advantage of their company's tuition assistance programs to help offset some of the graduate cost of education. We do recommend reaching out to your company to ask them about different options. Please do note, it's different for each company. So you just want to make sure, A, you find out what those eligibility requirements are, the reimbursement timelines or graduate requirements. And then you also want to make sure that the degree you're going for is going to meet the company's requirements for that particular piece of it. We also do offer scholarships. It's a merit aid-based scholarships. A lot of our students are awarded a merit-based scholarship. To be eligible for that, you just simply need to apply. There's a simple question on the application that says, would you like to be considered for merit aid? You check yes. And then based on the overall quality of your application, we'll consider you for a merit aid scholarship for that program. I do want to emphasize, if you are interested in that, the earlier you submit your application, the better when it comes to being considered for merit aid. And then we also do offer graduate assistantships. Graduate assistantships are offered for students who want to work here on campus. You can work in one of our research centers, one of our labs, or one of our professors. Same thing on the application. If you want to be considered for one of our graduate assistantships, you just click yes, and then we'll review your application. Please do note the only offered in the fall, and it is an hourly paid position, and it is only a maximum of 20 hours a week as you go through the program. So lots of different ways to fund your education. And then finally, we have the application deadlines. We are still taking applications for our upcoming spring term, starting in mid-January, right around January 20th. The standard deadline is December 11th, so just under a month away. After that, we will be going rolling with applications until the classes get filled up. So if you are interested in the spring, I would recommend trying to get it in before December 11th. We are now also taking fall applications as well, with classes starting the end of August, right around August 31st. We are currently accepting applications for our priority round 2 coming up on December 14th, followed by our regular decision deadline, which is February 1st. And then we'll be going rolling up until August 1st for our domestic and CVIS transfer students. For international students after February 1st, you have until June 1st for the deadline for that one as well. So I'm going to pause right there. I see that we have some questions, and I'll toss it back over to Emma so we can get these questions answered.
Yeah, awesome. So, lots of great questions here. I think one that I see is curiosity about how to continue connecting with current students about kind of their experience and the social experience here on campus after this conversation. And so I'm going to share my screen again and just give you an opportunity or a way to do that. So here, this second QR code that says set up a consultation will give you the option of setting up some time to connect with one of our current students that serve as admissions ambassadors here on campus. And that is a great way to get to know a current student, to hear about their experience, and to ask any questions you have that maybe you don't want to ask in this space, but want to ask kind of personal one-on-one questions. Similarly, if you email our admissions inbox, and Gordon, I'll ask you to put that email address in the chat, you can ask in that email to very specifically, hey, can I connect with a current student? If there's anything in particular you'd like that current student to kind of from a experience perspective have, whether that's, hey, I want to talk to a current student that's in the MSA program, or I want to talk to a current student from Ghana. Let us know and we can make sure to connect you and get all of your questions answered. So I do think it's a very important part of considering your time here. Both Jillian and Akindele talked about that, how the student experience is a huge part of why they came here. And so that is certainly something I would love for you all to continue digging into. Gordon, we have a question here about tuition costs. And so they're curious, what is the tuition cost and is there a deposit in order to save your space here at Bentley?
Yeah, great question. So right now for the current academic year, so Bentley does a little bit different, do it cost per course. I know some universities do it cost per credit, but all of our courses currently here at Bentley for this year are the same credit numbers, which is 3 credits per course. So for our early career professionals, you'd be looking at a cost per course of around $6,095 per course. And the number of courses can waver depending on how many courses that you're taking. For some of our MS programs, it can be as few as 10 or as many as 14 or 15. For our MBA program, it can be as minimum as 12 or a maximum of 15 for those particular ones. And so that's how the cost works for here. But again, when you reach out to us, we can also go through those costs with you. And obviously, any type of merit aid or additional resources that you'll get will reduce that cost as well. Was there a second part of that question, Emma, that I missed? Oh, deposit.
If there's a deposit, yes.
Sorry. So yes, there is also a deposit. So there is a deposit to hold your seat for full-time students, about $500. Please note that that is non-refundable, but once you start your program here at Bentley, any deposit that you make will go towards your tuition cost. So it gets added towards your tuition, so it doesn't just magically go away. But however, I do like to let students know if you decide not to come, that is non-refundable. And if you have any questions about that, like I said, we'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one in regards to that.
Great. So, Jillian, I'd love to start with you. What advice would you have for the folks on the line that are in a similar position to you early in their career that are considering coming to Bentley? Anything you'd want them to be thinking about as they make that consideration?
I'd say kind of touching on what you said earlier about, using your summer to kind of really establish or at least kind of build a base for maybe what you want to do and what your goal is with it. I'd say, start thinking about it, writing it out, Word doc, whatever, like really start trying to put into words what you want from your experience. Because I mean, I think, it's one thing to be like, oh, maybe I should go to grad school, but it really truly helps make the experience by being like, okay, what do I want out of this? And that also really helps to start, having that direction with what you want to do. And like, once you get here and you start doing things with the GCD, like that really kind of narrows it down a lot and it helps. But I definitely say, yeah, start, prepping a little before and, consult with your support system, like, have good discussions about it and, talk it out. I think that that's always the one of the best ways to try and make a decision if you're kind of on the fence about it. And then just see if it aligns with what you feel is your next best step in your career. Like if you're feeling like, oh, this is something I want to do right now, go for it. If it's something that you're like, maybe I should take a gap year, take a break, like, I need a little more time to, evaluate and see what I want to do. Like that's also totally fine. We all have different journeys and different paths. And if that's a part of it, then that's what's right. There's really no wrong decision, I think, when kind of thinking about all this.
Awesome. And Akindele, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question based on the conversation we've had thus far. Tell us a little bit, to your mind, what has differentiated the Bentley community for you, and why has that community been important in your time here so far?
Yeah, I'll say, even compared to where I went for undergrad, Bentley is similarly sized, but I feel like here there's so much more interpersonal connection compared to other places. And when I was applying to graduate school, I looked at a lot of big schools, Penn State, Vanderbilt, Pitt, and at a school that's so big, you're almost bound to be. mi- I don't want to say definitely a statistic because I haven't been there and I'm not sure for a fact, but I just know that at Bentley, from everyone I spoke to and from everything I've heard, the connection that you have here is so much deeper. People truly care about helping you and knowing how you're doing. The other day, I got an email from Carrie Ann Sanderson, who is the leader of our fellowship, and she just wanted to reach out to just make sure everything was okay. And that's the type of thing that um, at other institutions, you just won't get that type of connection. So here, that's what really stood out for me, and that's what made Bentley, the place that I wanted to come to.
Akindele, I'm so glad you said that. And I will say that starts in the admissions process. And so something I want to really point out to everyone on the line, and Gordon said this as well, is that we want to get to know you as an individual, and we want to support you as an individual through all the considerations that Jillian was talking about. Is this the right moment for you? Is this the right time? And through you being successful here on campus. And so I'm going to throw this back up on the screen and really urge people to use this second QR code to set up a consultation or use the email address that Gordon shared in the chat to make sure that You are reaching out to us and telling us your individual story, your individual concerns, your individual things that you're weighing so that we can really support you through this process. And as Akindele said, I promise that the rest of the Bentley community will support you in that same way once you're here, but I really will urge you to do that during the admissions process as well. Another thing I'm going to urge folks to do is follow us on social media or leverage YouTube to dig deeper into any given program. As I saw in the chat, there's a lot of good desire to understand the student experience here. That's why you're here. And I think there's lots of paths to do that. On Instagram, we often have student takeovers, so you can really see what the day in the life of a student is like. On YouTube, we have a number of sample courses. We have information sessions specific to each program, so you can dig into the Bentley experience in a totally different way than you are today. And so I'm going to say huge thanks to both Akindele and Jillian for joining us today. I'm going to say huge thanks to those of you on the line for joining us for this conversation. And then I will ask for all of you, the one piece of advice I'm going to give, and I'm going to say it a million times so that if you remember nothing else from here, you remember this. Please be in touch individually. Let us know what you're thinking, and we can make sure to connect you to the appropriate resources and get you all the answers you need. And so with that, I wish all of you the best of luck in thinking about whether graduate school is the right way to launch your career as an early professional. I thank Akindele and Jillian for sharing why Bentley was the right place for them and what that experience has been like. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye, everyone.